Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, coming to you 6 days a week as we interview whitetail experts and hear their traditions and personal stories of the hunt. Learn more about the latest gear, discover proven tips, and the latest strategies so you can make your next hunt a success. Now, here's your host, Bruce Hutchin.
Whitetail Rendezvous is pleased to announce a partnership with GoHunt.com. Who's GoHunt.com? Well, if you're a DIY hunter, you need the information at GoHunt.com/insider. Why? Because it provides 4,200 profiles, every unit, every species, and every season. Furthermore, they give in-depth analysis, interactive maps, unit access, and seasonal trends. Draws are very important, and they give you the most accurate information in the business. All this is available when you go to GoHunt.com/insider. Make sure you use promo code WR when you join Insider. You'll get a $50 gift card for GoHunt.com Gear Shop. Remember, when you become a member of GoHunt.com/insider, you're going to get a $50 gift card to Go Hunt Gear Shop. What's in the gear shop? The best gear that you can buy for hunting the West. All in all, if you're hunting out West in 2018, GoHunt.com/insider is where you need to be to get all the research information. When you use promo code WR, Whitetail Rendezvous receives a small commission from GoHunt.com. Hey, folks, we got a new sponsor. It's called Buckwild Coffee. What's so special about Buckwild Coffee? Well, a gazillion people go to Starbucks every day and drink coffee. Well, why shouldn't Buckwild Coffee offer you light, medium, or dark roast with free shipping? All you have to do is go to whitetailrendezvous.com, go to shop, and order your coffee, and I'll ship it out for free. Hey, thanks so much for visiting Buckwild Coffee. The best brew in the West, the best brew around the campfire, the best brew in the hunting shack, the best brew anywhere. Buckwild Coffee. Get yours today. Another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. And we're heading to central Minnesota. And we're going to visit with Eli Gesell. And Eli is the author of Whitetail Underground, which is a blog. You can go to whitetailunderground.com and read some of its exploits. And I'm just happy to have Eli on because he does a lot of public land hunting, even though there's a lot of agriculture around and they get their family farm, but it's not that private because family hunts it also. So, Eli, welcome to the show.
Well, I'm happy to be here, Bruce.
Well, it's going to be exciting because in the warm-up we talked about a lot of things, and I'm just going to start off with your blog and why you have that up there, and just talk to us about what you want to share on Whitetail Underground blog.
Well, a couple of years ago, I had a little bit of an accident that kind of put some things in perspective. And, you grew up watching these guys like Michael Whitetail and other guys. And it was always something that I thought I'd like to get into is that outdoor industry and work at something I'm passionate about. And when I had that accident, it kind of left me wanting to make sure that I didn't at least try. And that was in 2015, January of 2015. And I've been having a blast. It's going a little bit slower than I would have thought, but I think there's a lot of guys out there trying to do the same thing,
Well, sure. I mean, everybody wants a piece of, at least, a piece of the, how do I want to say it, the industry. But see, we're all unique, and that's why Whitetail Rendezvous exists. Because I'm unique, because I'm the only guy there is. I'm the only Bruce. You're the only Eli. So nobody can see the hunt through anybody's eyes but yourself.
Right. And you know what? It's kind of a lot of the stuff that you get to watch on TV is not relatable to the regular guy. We don't all have a bunch of acreage at our disposal, and most guys are out on public land just hustling, and dealing with pressure and a lot of other people.
So in your blog, do you have, lessons learned? I know that you've got a lot of, I've seen some videos on it, and there's a lot of information. You mentioned in the warm-up there's a guy that you've kind of adapted some of his techniques. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, that's Dan Infalt. He runs the Hunting Beast forum, and he's kind of a legend in the Midwest here as far as guys hunting on public land. And his system is to scout hard, find a buck bed, and sneak in and try and take that deer out of its bed. And it's something that I started trying to do last year. Struggled pretty bad. I got humbled pretty quick. He makes it look pretty easy, and it's not. I've found a few more things this spring here that I'm starting to feel good about come fall, but we just have to see what happens.
You mentioned hunting swamps. Talk to me about that. Excuse me.
Yeah, it's a lot of the property that is public around home here is big cattail and willow brush swamps, and it's pretty easy to find good bedding, and it's a lot harder to try set up and hunt. A lot of short trees, a lot of stuff that's tough to get through, a lot of water, so it's a struggle to try and put the puzzle together.
You think about that. How do you do that? So there's public land. It's swamp. There might be some ridges, oak ridges, or something on it, but for the most part, it's 90% water and tamarack, or hemlock, or stuff like that. And how do you go about that? Let's talk about your technique. Let's share that.
Well, I do a lot of scouting online. You just try to find stuff where you think beds would be out on some islands or big long peninsulas, and then what I try and do is if I locate something, then sneak in quiet on what would be just an off wind to where my scent would be going not right directly to the deer that I have pinpoint in a bed, but just past it, so that that deer feels like it has everything in its advantage with the wind, but it's just off, so that that deer will come walk past you using the wind to his advantage, but you have to try and set up so that your scent is getting past that deer before it gets to you. It's a little bit tough to explain without a visual, but that's how I go about it.
Okay, so the point, let's just say the little ridge out in the swamp, and it's northwest of you. So you're in the southeast corner, and you've got to navigate that swamp. Now the wind's coming out of pretty much, I'm going to say the north, more west than northwest. So it's kind of going away from you, but there's going to be a point in time where it's going to, your scent's going to get picked up once you hit the timber and it starts swirling. So how do you work that out?
I use a lot of milkweed. You just grab the on your way in, or a lot of times I'll have a big stockpile of milkweed, and you just drop them seeds as you're walking, and the wind will carry those milkweed seeds. You can always see what your wind is doing 50, 60, 70 yards away if you have the visibility. And that'll help you be able to navigate your way through there without having your scent get to that deer before you're able to set up in an area where you feel comfortable with.
Now, how close are you trying to get to them?
And then you want to get as close as you possibly can. That's the hard part, because a lot of them mature deer that are on public land that been hunted for a long time, they're going to get up and they're not going to move very far during daylight. They're just going to move in that last 20, 30 minutes. So you want to be within 100 yards, but it's really hard to get set up that close without tipping them off.
Yeah, I would imagine, because you're in a swamp. Every time you lift your boot up, it goes suck, in branches.
Right.
And, there's no, there's no logging roads. That's for darn sure.
Right. You just got to take your time and go slow and be as quiet as possible. Deer hear stuff walking through the woods all the time. It's just that if it's a constant, steady walk, they'll pick up on that. But if it's just a couple of feet here and there, and you take your time and slow down, they'll just dismiss that as some other wildlife, because that's how they move through.
And you can't charge. Because some of us like to say, okay, I want to get to there by this time. And that's the biggest mistake in the world, because, you're not thinking about the animal.
Right. To hunt like that, you really have to give yourself a lot of time. Last fall, in the few hunts that I was able to get out in October, I was leaving home here about 12:30, 1 o'clock, so that I could be set up by 4. And that would be about a 20-minute drive, and then hour and a half, maybe 2-hour hike, another 20 minutes to get my tree stand and camera gear set up, and hopefully set up for them last 2 hours.
So are you taking in a hang-on or a climber?
Yep, I have a lone wolf and a set of 4 sticks that I use. It's a hang-on.
So that's another thing. You got to learn how to do that really quiet, no clangs.
Yep. I got paracord wrapped around what would be the perimeter of the stand to help with anything like that, and then I have some camouflage athletic tape that I wrapped around each one of the sticks, so that you're just trying to knock down on anything that can make any noise. Get that wrapped up and deadened somehow.
Yeah, I'll give a shout out right now to Adam Lewis with Sound Barrier. You might check that out because he's got a pretty good system for dampening sound, on equipment. I don't know if you've ever checked him out, but he's been on the show a couple of times. So, check out Sound Barrier.
Yeah, I'll have to do that.
Yeah, he's a great guy, and he came up with some wraps and different things that help eliminate noise. Just help eliminate, because you can't eliminate everything. I mean, Lance says you get a bow, you get a stand, and you get some sticks, and whatever else you might have, drag it along. So it's tough. How close have you got to a better buck then?
Well, last year I didn't get a bunch of scouting done, so I was just setting up on what I felt there should be bedded deer, and so I can't actually answer that question.
Did you see any bust?
Did I spook any?
Yeah.
No, not on my way in anyway.
Are you saying you spooked some underneath your stand or near your stand?
Well, no, just having a deer get downwind of you that you don't know are coming in from a different direction, or just catch your wind. If the wind swirls or something. I had deer wind me last year.
How high up are you?
A lot of it depends on what tree is available. I set up as low as 10 feet last year and as high as probably 23, 24.
Now, in the swamps that I've been in, fortunately, I don't hunt swamps anymore because I'm just too old to do it. But when we used to do that, I mean, you get a deer down and you get them taken care of, then you got to get them out of there. I mean, it's hard.
Right.
How do you handle that?
I got a couple of buddies on standby.
Yeah. Do you have a sled or anything?
I got no. What I do is I have a couple of buddies on standby that'll help me drag whenever I need it, and I'm there for them too whenever they need a hand.
Yeah, because that's definitely 180, 200-pound deer dragging that sucker through the water. I have a little plastic deer sled. It's a big toboggan, really made out of plastic, and that helps. Yep. Really, when it's frozen or something, it's easy, but when it's still wet,
right. My plan was, I work at a metal fabrication shop, and this summer my plan was to build my own deer cart. That way, it cuts down on some of them long walks. There's a couple of spots where I go in where it's probably a mile and a half, and it's all high ground. So as long as you could get the deer there, then that cart would come in pretty handy.
Heck yeah.
Saturday when I was out, there's a little 2-track that kind of splits the one piece, and but on each side of the road it's just water and cattails. So as long as you could get to the road, you'd be fine. But it's the cattails and water that's the difficult part.
Boy, yeah, more than just a little bit difficult. It's a lot difficult. Now, you said you're enamored with private land hunting and you've got some good techniques. What's the allure of private land hunting rather than hunting the places you got permission on a private land or your own home farm?
You mean the public land?
Yeah, the public land. So, why do you like hunting public land?
Part of it is, now after I've done it a little while, is just the sheer amount of land that's available. I grew up on a 240-acre dairy farm, and I love to hunt there, but it's 240 acres, and most of that's cropland. And any direction I drive within a half hour, there's probably another 5,000 or 6,000 acres that I can hunt, and I just like seeing new things over and over.
But what about the competition on public land? I mean, you got to take your stand in, you got to set it up, and then you get to take it out every night, unless Minnesota lets you leave them.
No, most of our um, public land here in Minnesota, it's illegal to leave any private property on there, so we can't hang trail cameras or anything. Um, Part of it is I just enjoy to work and the challenge. Um, a lot of our public lands here too are in some better areas than a lot of the private land that I have access to hunt as far as trying to take a mature deer. Um, I wouldn't say it's easier on the private that I do have access to. Um, there's a lot of pressure there too, so I always looked at it as whether I'm on a piece of state land or on the other pieces of private land that I had access, it's almost the same as far as pressure goes. And with I have two boys that can hunt now and my wife, and I like to just kind of leave those pieces for them a little bit less pressured if I can.
Well, that's nice of you.
But I try being as good to them as I can.
That's great. So, what I've learned from public land, access points, typically states have parking lots, and there's not a lot of places, that you can have an actual parking lot. A lot of guys just put their car or truck in the ditch and go in from there. How do you access, the public lands?
A little bit of both. There was a couple of spots last year where I ended up just parking on the road, and then a lot of parking lot stuff. You just got to put miles on that way, to try to get away from where guys are setting up 50 to 100 yards away from that parking lot.
It's funny, I talking to the people I do, a lot of guys, parking lots, and then they go in a mile and a half, and the deer know that, so the deer are within a quarter mile, half a mile of the parking lot. Have you ever seen that?
I think it depends. Yeah, it depends a lot on the terrain. I think. I feel like if there's a good ridge close to the parking lot, those are great bedding areas because the deer can use the wind to their advantage and look down on that parking lot to see if there's anybody coming in.
You think about it, because especially if you're going in, not the afternoon hunts, but the morning hunts, even though you know where you're going, sort of, kind of, the deer, hear you because you're a lot noisier. I mean, they see lights and headlights and
Yep.
helmet lights and stuff like that. And it's just, I'm amazed, one, the people that hunt public land have it figured out because there's some beautiful, huge, deer that come off public land every single year. No question about it.
Right. Absolutely.
So what do those people know that the rest of us don't?
I think a lot of times guys get lucky, and the 3 or 4% of guys that do it consistent have a system that they've figured out that works for them. And it's kind of funny because you listen to one guy and he does this, and he'll kind of get an argument with another guy who's successful all the time, and their strategies are 180 degrees different from each other. I think there's a lot of ways to get things done. It just, you got to kind of fine tune what works for you.
Because, on public land, typically, it isn't the best land. It may be the best. It may be good habitat. You got ridges, and there's just, I know in Wisconsin, there's a lot of swamp that is public land. Why? Because you can't farm it. You just,
Absolutely, and it's the same in my area.
until the
Sorry,
deer
Bruce, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that was okay because of the thing. So you can't farm it. So the deer have to go someplace. I know they're browsers and they love forbs and everything else. But, if there's, clover and soybeans and corn and oats or whatever's growing in the area, I mean, they have to get up and they have to feed. But the big bucks are going to be nocturnal. I mean, that's why you have to get into the swamp to get them before they, get across the road.
Yep,
get onto those lands.
Right, and that's where that trying to locate that buck bed comes into play because they're going to get out to the egg fields at 9, 10, 11 o'clock, but it's going to take them a few hours to get there. And if you're able to pinpoint a couple of buck beds and you're able to hunt them a couple times, maybe one time early season, maybe a couple of times during the rut, and then once late season, hopefully you're able to capitalize on that before they either vacate that area or they make a mistake during the rut and get taken out somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm liking when I'm hearing about, the September, early October, and then once a rut happens, all bets are off because, do bucks travel 5 miles or 10 miles during the rut? All depends on where the does are, really. That's one
Right.
big,
And I think each area is a little bit different.
so I'm going to look for, heavy traffic and crossing traffics and land barriers and funnels and pinch points that, if I do an all day sit, I've got a better than 50-50 chance of a buck coming by, because he's going to use that, that travel, because when they're cruising, um, they're looking, and they want to find them. So they're going to use the best topography they can, the easiest, to go through their home range and intersect with other bucks' home range. Because they're seeking and they're chasing, then they're, getting the lockdown, and then it's post rut. So
Right.
yeah, it's pretty big game, isn't it?
Yeah, it's huge. It's a big chess match, and it kind of whoever makes that first mistake is the one who's going to lose.
Yeah, they are, and people wonder how 4.5 and older deer make mistakes, but they do, and it's not just during the rut. Um, if you figure it out and study them and key on just a couple of deer on your hit list, and really focus. And I've been talking a lot of people, Todd Pregnant's, pardon me, Dan Johnson, about running and gunning. And Bill Winkie had a good thing for redneck blinds. A farmer cut the field. He had his blind on a trailer, and he never could get to the buck. They cut the field. They moved the blind to the other side of the field, and they killed the buck that night, because you just had the flexibility to move. And that's the part that I get more and more enamored about is, you have to be flexible. You just have
Absolutely.
to, you just gotta be flexible. And if you're flexible, go ahead.
That's what I hunted last year one time out of a pre-hung stand, and I felt like I saw more deer in a very limited amount of hunts last year. I do a lot of I coach youth and high school football, so my time in the woods is cut down quite a bit until the high school season's over with.
Yeah, November.
And being mobile.
When's the conference? When's the tournament?
Go ahead.
Yeah, when's the playoffs?
Our playoffs start about October 20th.
Okay.
So if you win a couple of games there, you're already looking at November.
Yeah, and sometime the 7th to 10th, you can play it a lot of different ways. I like start hunting hard during the rut, just Halloween, and then go from there. But that's 7 to 10 days of of concerted hunting, and it doesn't. What I found during that period, this should help you, with your coaching. If you can spend just an hour in the woods during that time frame, you may get a buck.
Oh, absolutely. The thing with the rut here in Minnesota too is that's right when our rifle season opens up. So it in a perfect world, I'd like to be able to hunt that last week of October before our rifle season comes in that first week in November. I talked to a guy about Thanksgiving last year on one piece of public that I was hunting quite a bit, and it was a small parking lot, room for probably 3 or 4 vehicles, and he said that on opening morning of rifle season there was 27 trucks in there parked up and down the side of the road. But our public land sees a ton of pressure during the rifle season, so that I really like that last week of October when stuff just kind of starting to click in, especially if you can get a weather front to help with that, to get that rut started.
Take a day off when cold front. Take the next day off. Just take it off. Call in sick.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna have to do.
No, I'm dead
I
serious.
I would love to call. I I I almost can't call in sick. I haven't called in sick for over 10 years now.
Well, it doesn't
I
matter.
just it's
You
something I
have
don't
every right.
do.
You get sick time. You get sick time, and the more you talk to people, a cold front coming through or a delta of 20, 30 degrees, um, you got to be out there all day set,
Right.
and because they're just they're the odds of daylight moving, it's so much higher, than dawn to dusk. I mean, if you look at the trends and everything I've been doing, I'm taking a deer stewardship class from QDMA, and you look at the activity trends, and you see a cold front come through and spike. It just spikes. I mean, there's no question about it.
Right. It's I think weather's a big key. Whether it's warm or cold, you know, you can kind of dictate your planning as far as whatever your forecast is. Whether you need to be out there, whether you can take a day here and catch up on stuff around the house.
Yeah. So how do you get ready? Let's go into we got a little bit of time, about 10 minutes or so left. Let's go into your prep for the season. Here it is, coming up, Memorial Day, end of May, and you're starting to prep. Obviously, on public land, you can't hang stands, you can't hang trail cameras. You can throw some seed around, maybe or not, and have some kill plots, but somebody else will find them. So I don't know if that's a good idea. So, what's your preparation for the deer season?
Right now, I'm still doing a lot of scouting. Last weekend, I spent about 5 or 6 hours on one piece, and we're getting some food plots put in here at the home place. And I'm just going through my gear, making sure that if there's a creak in a stand, that I'm going to fix that. Making sure that I can cut down any noise that I can. Uh, Running trail cameras at the home farm, mineral, and just double checking that everything's good to go over there. And a lot of looking at aerial maps, trying to pick out a spot where I feel good about. And then all summer long, I'll be poking into them publics just to try and see if you can't find that one magic spot that a good buck is going to be bedding.
No, on the high ground or on a ridge where there's sunlight. One, you need a ridge. Two, you need access to sunlight. Can you put seed down and some fertilizer and see what happens and make a kill plot?
On the public land?
Yeah, huh? I'm talking 10 by 10, 100 square feet.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what the ruling would be on that. I guess that I've never. I kind of wouldn't think that you'd be able to do that just because you can't leave any private property on public land here for the most part. Depends on what
Yeah,
classification.
it's just
you use.
seed. I mean, all this is seed,
Right.
and you're roughing, you take in a little rake and you rake it up and turn it over and put some seed down, a little fertilizer, and put some, you know, lack of a better thing, just clover or, something that's hardy and
Yeah. Anything.
you know, shade tolerant a little bit. And, I'd be interested in finding that out, because on the ridges where there's oaks and stuff, you're going to have mass, but if you got oak trees, then you've got tree stand availability, and, it's close to, intercepting that buck between bed and, his groceries. Just a thought. I don't know if it's legal or not. Folks, don't go out there and say Bruce Hutchin from Whitetail
Right.
Roundup said go out and set up kill plots on public land. Not. But check the regs, because it doesn't take much
Right.
time. I
It's
mean,
it's definitely worth something to look into.
because you
Right.
could
Or
carry,
one simple phone call to the
yeah,
conservation office, and a guy would know.
yeah. I mean, literally with just a rake and little bag of seed and a little bag of fertilizer, and as long as you have sun, you got to have sun. It can't be 100% shade, but there's a lot of shade tolerant.
Yeah, it wouldn't take much.
No,
It's something that I guess I'd never even just brought it up.
yeah, something to think about. Well, let's talk about and finish up about your hunting tradition. I know it's rich, and I know you were fortunate to have a dad that took you out. So let's close up the show and let's talk about Eli's hunting tradition.
Bruce, you're breaking up really bad. I didn't quite catch what you just said.
Yeah, and I'll be able to edit that. What I want to do, we got about 5 or 10 more minutes. I want to talk about your hunting tradition. Have we lost it?
What was that?
Yeah, we'll try one more time. Your hunting tradition? Yeah, I guess we lost it.
Now,
Can you hear me? Nope.
now I got
Can you hear me?
you.
You got me now?
Yeah.
No, you're breaking
I'm
up.
going to go up.
Yeah, you're breaking
on.
up. Yeah, we're gonna have to. Yeah, we're just gonna have to end the show where we were before, Eli. I'll call you back on a landline because I've lost you.
Next up on the show is Zach Harold. Now, Zach is the podcast host for Archery Maniacs, and he is an whitetail archery maniac, that's for sure. And I say that with laughter and joy because this man is passionate about it, whitetail hunting. Also passionate about getting his kids, his family, his friends involved in archery, both in the field and in tournaments. And he hunts multiple states. And on the show, you're going to hear how he figures it out, where to go, when to go, and why to go, because he does a lot of DIY. And it's a show that's going to help you get some insight to what a very successful young man is doing in the outdoor industry as a career, but also as a hunter. Enjoy the show, folks.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.